Good morning, and thank you very much. Thank you to everyone here at SFS for standing up for security and standing up for freedom. These are fights, the stakes of which are enormous, and they are battles that make an enormous difference, not just in the United States, but across the globe. Thank you for having me here to discuss this very important topic. The Amia bombing and where we are dealing with Hezbollah 25 years after that horrific attack. On July 18th, 1994, at 9:53 in the morning, a Hezbollah suicide bomber drove a bomb into the Jewish Community Center in downtown Buenos Aires. The blast murdered 85 innocent people and injured 300. It is, to this day, the deadliest terror attack that Argentina has ever seen. This was not the first time that Hezbollah had targeted and killed Jews in Argentina. 2 years before the Amia attack, on March 17, 1992, Hezbollah bombed the Israeli embassy in Buenos Aires, murdering 29 people and injuring 242. To this day, the terrorists who committed these atrocious acts have never faced justice. Last week, along with my Senate colleagues, I introduced a resolution remembering the 25th anniversary of the Amia bombing. The resolution also urges President Trump to monitor Iran's activities in the Western Hemisphere and to assist the government of Argentina in supporting its ongoing investigation into the death of Argentine prosecutor Alberto Nisman, who investigated the attack and who was murdered in 2015, a matter of hours before he was going to publicly report his findings. The Amia bombing was not the first or the last terror attack carried out by Hezbollah in Latin America or around the world. And yet, over 2 decades after the bombing, Hezbollah is still very much alive and active in the tri-border area that encompasses the borders of Argentina, Brazil, and Paraguay. The growth of Hezbollah in Latin America remains unchecked. I commend Argentina for blacklisting Hezbollah, the first Latin American country to do so. President Macri has said this month that Argentina will be moving forward in declaring Hezbollah a terrorist organization. I sincerely hope that happens, and happens soon. And I hope that other Latin American countries, particularly Paraguay and Brazil, will soon follow in identifying Hezbollah for what it is, a profoundly dangerous terrorist organization. Last week, I sent a letter to Secretary Pompeo encouraging him to urge his Brazilian and Paraguayan counterparts to acknowledge Hezbollah's significance in their home countries and the terror that Hezbollah perpetuates within their borders. 25 years after the Amia bombing, Hezbollah continues to radicalize people in Argentina, Paraguay, and Brazil through mosques and schools that preach the group's extremist agenda. It's time for Latin America to reckon with the significant and the dangerous presence of Hezbollah in the region. And it's also time for the larger international community to combat Iran's proxies wherever we find them, in Latin America and in the Middle East. There has been some progress. President Trump rightly pulled out of the disastrous Obama-Iran nuclear deal, which was a devil's bargain and foolhardy from its inception. The Obama administration had greased the nuclear deal with bribes and secret agreements, including a side deal to allow Iran to inspect itself. There was a ransom deal that gave Iran $1.7 billion in cash in unmarked bills flown in pallets in the dead of night. And there were several wire transfers from America to Iran ranging from $1 to $10 million. The Obama administration subordinated the American financial system and American law to the deal. And they were willing to put the U.S. dollar and U.S. banks to work moving money for the Iranians. Luckily, those actions have come to light. And through President Trump's leadership, we have pulled out of this disastrous deal. But there is much more work to do. In order to keep Iran in check, we need to support our allies, especially Israel, and combat Iran's proxies in Lebanon, Latin America, and around the world. When the Ayatollah says, death to America and death to Israel, I believe him. Just 8 months ago, in December of 2018, Israel uncovered 6 sophisticated cross-border tunnels built by Hezbollah in South Lebanon, which included stairs, a rail system, and wide passageways allowing for the movement of equipment and forces intended to cause substantial harm to Israeli civilians by enabling terrorists to sneak across the border and carry out murderous attacks. Last month, I introduced the Countering Hezbollah in Lebanon's Military Act of 2019, which would withhold 20% of the U.S. military assistance to the Lebanese Armed Forces, the LAF, unless the president can certify that they're taking necessary steps to end Hezbollah's and Iran's influence over the LAF. United States Security Council Resolution 1701 required the Lebanese armed forces to disarm Hezbollah. And the United States gives military assistance to Lebanon to enforce that resolution. Last year, I secured language requiring an evaluation of whether the resolution was being implemented. And now it's time to take the next step and to reassess the assistance that we provide if Iran continues to exert direct influence on the LAF, either directly or through Hezbollah. The international community has failed to hold Hezbollah accountable. But the United States needs to send a message that we will not turn a blind eye to terrorists or their war crimes. Argentina should fight for justice for the victims of Hezbollah's horrific terror act 25 years ago. And the United States should assist them in doing so. And I will continue doing everything I can in the Senate to keep Iran in check, to ensure that maximum pressure means maximum pressure, and to ensure that under no circumstances ever does the Ayatollah Khamenei, with his theocratic, maniacal chant of death to America and death to Israel, that never will the Ayatollah acquire nuclear weapons. Thank you.